What if I told you that the Jesus you've been taught to picture might not be who he really was? Imagine a Jesus who doesn't just belong to one culture or race, but whose very existence challenges our deepest held beliefs about identity, faith, and race. This is the forgotten story of Black Jesus, a story buried by history, but one that could change the way you see faith forever. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this story matters more today than ever before. For centuries, we've seen images of Jesus that fit a certain mold. Images shaped by European artists, leaders, and colonizers who had their own agenda. This version of Jesus was pale-skinned, with soft features, and draped in light robes. But have you ever wondered why? Was that the real Jesus? Or was it a crafted image meant to serve a powerful narrative? The truth is, the real Jesus was born in a place that looks nothing like Europe. His hometown wasn't filled with pale skin, blue eyes, or light hair. He was born in Bethlehem in the Middle East, a land shared with Egypt and Ethiopia, places where the people looked far different from the Renaissance paintings we've all grown up seeing. Let me take you on a journey into the heart of history, where we see how this version of Jesus was changed, erased, and replaced by an image that fit a different agenda. What happens when we peel back these layers and rediscover the truth about who Jesus was? Let's dig deep and see how the real, historical Jesus opens our eyes to a new understanding of faith. In the world where Jesus walked, skin was sun-kissed, dark and warm. The Hebrew people of his time were part of a tapestry woven with the cultures of Africa and the Middle East. And although his mission was to bring hope to all humanity, his physical appearance would have reflected the people he was born among, people who had much more in common with the rich skin tones of North Africans than with the light faces we've been shown. But why does this matter? As Christianity spread into Europe, rulers saw something valuable. They saw a religion that could unite their kingdoms and justify their rule. But they couldn't just use any image of Jesus. No, they needed a Jesus who looked like them, who could represent their idea of supremacy. This is when we began to see Jesus portrayed as white, a symbol of purity and power. During the Renaissance, artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci immortalized this image in a way that made it unforgettable. But their creations were not based on history, they were based on politics. Can you see the implications of that? For centuries, this European version of Jesus was used to support colonization, slavery, and the oppression of people of color around the world. The message was clear. This white Jesus represented the powerful, the conquerors. And the rest? The rest were outsiders to his grace and kingdom. But what happens when we return to the truth? What happens when we understand that Jesus, the Son of God, was not a figure of white power, but someone who stood with the oppressed, with the marginalized? This is where the forgotten story of Black Jesus comes in. Black theologians and scholars like James Cone and Howard Thurman have reminded us that Jesus' mission was one of liberation. He didn't come to serve the powerful. He came to lift up the poor, the downtrodden, the enslaved. The Black Jesus represents the real, historical Jesus, one who would have been more at home among the oppressed African and Middle Eastern peoples than among the rulers of Europe. So what does this mean for us today? Right now, we live in a world still struggling with racial injustice, where skin color continues to divide us. But the image of Black Jesus, a darker-skinned Jesus, challenges all of that. It reminds us that God sees all people as equally worthy of love, dignity, and grace, regardless of race. For people of African descent, this truth holds a special power. Imagine growing up seeing Jesus portrayed as someone who looks nothing like you. For centuries, Black people were taught that this white Jesus was the savior, while their own image was associated with sin, inferiority, and shame. But by rediscovering a Jesus who reflects their heritage, Black people can reclaim the truth of their divine worth and identity. What does this mean for you and me? It's not just about changing the color of Jesus' skin. It's about transforming how we view faith, how we view history, and how we view each other. It's about breaking down the false images that have divided us for so long. This story matters because it challenges us to look deeper, to ask hard questions, to see Jesus not through the lens of a culture that's comfortable for us, but through the lens of truth. The real Jesus was a man of the people, someone who didn't just sit with the powerful, but walked with the poor, the forgotten, and the oppressed. Now that we've uncovered this forgotten story, the question is, what will you do with it? Will you continue to see faith through the eyes of the past, through the distortions of history? Or will you embrace a fuller, more complete understanding of who Jesus is and what that means for our world today? The story of Black Jesus reminds us that Christianity is not just for one race, one culture, or one group. It's a message of love, justice, and unity for all. And now, more than ever, we need that message to bring healing to a world so deeply divided by race. So, as we end this journey together, I invite you to reflect on this. Who is Jesus to you? How can his story, his real story, transform the way you see the world, and more importantly, how you live in it?